It's Friday, it's 6 o'clock, and it's Dragonheart. Wrexham finally got some equal treatment when the grant from the Welsh Assembly came through. We've already removed the John Lewis curtains, and we're starting to put that lovely £800 a roll wallpaper up in the boardroom. We were all disappointed to see Adi Yusuf leave on deadline day, but last Saturday he was back where he belongs, on the bench at the racecourse. And Wrexham's defence hasn't let a goal in for 4.5 hours. That's already half an hour longer than its European Super League lasted. It's a bit of an unusual Dragonheart. We've had some scheduling issues, which means that we can't get together to do a chat. But don't worry, my friends, if you want to hear what happened in the Chesterfield game, of course, you can listen to the Final Whistle podcast. That's on the feed, of course, from last Saturday. And next week we'll be back with a bumper edition looking at next week's 2 games, and also with all the usual chat and also that discussion which we asked for contributions to. So you've now got another week to chip in. Who, living or dead, past or present, would you most like to go for a pint and talk about Wrexham with? So, what have we got in line for you today? Well, a very special interview, because Steve Massey was a striker for Wrexham in the late 1980s, brought in by Dixon McNeil, a lovely bloke, a real character, and is still, and always will be, we guess, Wrexham's top scorer in Europe. So, I caught up with him. Let's have a listen to what Steve had to say.
I'm Fiacre Kelleher, and you're listening to Dragonheart Radio Show.
Oh, Steve, thank you so much for joining me. I can't tell you how delighted I am to be in touch with you. You were a player who was brought in to deliver goals, and you delivered something which in recent years Wrexham fans have been just yearning for.
Yeah. No, it was. Firstly, it's a real pleasure. Real pleasure. My Wrexham. Wrexham was my last club on my journey, if you like, my professional career, which spanned sort of 15, 16 seasons, and I have loads of happy, great memories, particularly because the reason I actually joined Wrexham was one. There was a funny tale, which no doubt I will tell across the meeting Dixon McNeil for the first time. But of course, the main reason was that it was the possibility of playing in Europe with the sort of the European Cup Winners' Cup. Then, of course, the English clubs were banned at that time, but the Welsh clubs, and it was something that was a great opportunity for me, and bore fruit. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I was going to ask you first about Dixie anyway, just because I was just wondering, does having a manager who scored a lot of goals put extra pressure on you, either in your own mind or from him, because he's saying, well, this is how I would have done it? I know Wrexham have had managers like Dean Saunders in the past, who I think has been quite tough on the players, saying, why can't you do what I can do?
Yeah. No, I think that's a real good point, and something that wasn't lost with me when I went to see him, because I knew about his goal scoring prowess and things, and particularly what a legend he was. Legend still is at Wrexham there. So that was a big factor in actually going to Wrexham. That Dixie understood and knew everything that was, that was what was about with a striker and a forward, and we just sort of hit it off straight away. To be perfectly honest, I thought he was a great guy, and I knew he was the guy, or I knew it was the club to come and join. We'd actually just spoken in the club itself, and he'd shown me round, and I had my wife with me then, Gail, and we went back, and he walked me back to the car in the car park, and he said, well, have a think about it, Steve. Come back to us in like 24 hours or something. Have a day to think about it. I mean, in my mind, I'd already knew anyway that I thought, this is great. We'd hit it off, but it was just totally confirmed I got into the car, and he's saying, like, give me a call in a day or two. And then from nowhere, this bird flying above literally crapped on his head. I tell you, God is my witness. Dixie will tell you that. And he went plop, bang on his head. And I looked at it, and of course, there was the embarrassment to start with. And I said, Dixie, that if ever there was a sign to say, like, you know, muck for luck or whatever there, I've got a sign, haven't I? I've got a sign on that. And so that is honestly, that is a true tale. It's right on his head. And I said, that just confirmed it. I've got to come and sign.
Oh,
so I had two great years there.
That's a bit suspicious, though, because about 10 players from around that time say that happened when Dixie signed them. I think he may have had a pet bird over the car park.
Actually, it was a good ploy. That was a good ploy. Yeah,
we have had good fun. Actually, I've got to say, just to break off from talking about it for a second, we have had a bit of fun with birds over the last 10 years at the racecourse. Birds eating the grass seed, and for a while, we had a hawk living inside the stadium. Who would be released to scare them off. And then the hawk went for whatever reason. And fans going to games when we're allowed back in might see that on the TV gantry now, on the Mold Road stand, there's actually an outline of a bird on the front of the wall, which the birds are supposed to see and be frightened of. Now, I've seen this at other grounds, but it does seem terribly hidden. The one Wrexham, so I don't know I don't think it's very effective. I remember Rushton and Diamonds used to have models of birds on the roof. Hawks to scare the birds off. And my favourite was always Kettering. Kettering Town's press box above it had a beautiful carved owl to scare off birds, which was totally covered in bird muck. Not sure if that was so effective. That might be where Dixie got the idea from. Truly, yes. Yeah. We brought in quite a few good players around your time as well. I remember it being very optimistic. The previous 2 seasons, going back to more than that, we'd struggled a bit in the league. But the season before, you could see we had the basis of something good players like Barry Horn, Jim Steele, Paul Comstive, and we brought in quite a few players when you arrived as well, and it led to a very optimistic sense at the start of the season we were going to go somewhere. Yeah, sure. Yeah, it certainly felt like that. I mean, Joe Cook, the centre half, came in as well at the same time. Paul Emerson he was from Derby and Grimsby, and Paul and I got on really well, and our wives got on well together. We look back on. I'd certainly look back on that first season, the season that we were in. That we had the great cup run as well, the European Cup run. I honestly said, I've said it many times, I think we should have got promotion that season. We were well placed, in there really, and we certainly had the quality in the squad to be able to do that. I think it was just perhaps a little bit of inconsistency in the side at the time, but certainly that squad was definitely good enough to go and get promotion. Yes. Well, we started pretty well, and they say that the European games started quite early on, didn't they? So you go off to Zurich, which that's a stadium. Actually, a few years ago, my family were on holiday in Malta, and it shows how football mad my son and I were. My wife, who's very forgiving in these circumstances, decided to go and do her own thing, and my son and I took a bus to the middle of nowhere just to go and see the stadium and walk around. As you do, you got to, yes. Yeah, it's quite sad, isn't it, really? But it was, I mean, it was a summer. But the impression you got, it was sweltering hot, baked hard pitch. And I imagine that would have been an interesting introduction for someone who wanted to experience European football. Yeah, it certainly was, and it was certainly as hot the conditions that I'd ever played in at that particular time. But the whole build up to it as well was and I make no bones about it that was really one of the big factors, as I said, that I joined Wrexham, was to on these the sort of experience these European Cup games, and that's what Dixie sold it to me as well about. He said you've got some guys
Of course, it was the first division. They're not like it is now with the Premier League. He said you've got some guys, he said, that playing in the first division, and even internationals that have not played in European football. And of course, there's me there, a little bit of a journeyman. I knew I could score goals, and that's why Dixie brought it to me there. I could, particularly at that level. And I just thought, yeah, it is. This is a great opportunity. But I do remember the thing about the pitch. And actually, funny enough, I hadn't actually scored a goal. I think it was about maybe 4 or 5 games into our season that we went out to Zurich, and I hadn't actually scored. I remember Paul Comstov keep God rest his soul. I mean, he's unfortunately passed on now, hasn't he? Again, such a young age taken. But Commie used to sort of take the mick about a little bit, and it said, "Go, it could be about Easter before you'll get your first goal, Mass," something. So it was great. Yeah, that was my first goal for the club out there. Yes,
you got it nice and early, and I guess, like I said, it was exotic to play there, but in truth, Zurich weren't as strong as the teams we were playing domestically, were they really? But you got an early goal there and an early goal in the second leg as well, didn't you?
Yes, I did. Yeah, but then say the whole build up to the game itself, particularly the one away. We'd all been kitted out in the new gear and things, and to travel in, and it was just the whole experience was there. I think we had 2-3 days or so over there. We had the training sessions again. Remember I've got some pictures in there that we were just training in just a shorts. Bare chested, and we were trained because it was so hot. It was just really hot. It's a super experience. I remember coming in at half time, and Dixie had give his bit of his team talk. I remember as we were all going out, I purposely left it till I was the last one out to say, and Dixie said, "Look, I know you might be thinking, or you've hinted that you might sort of give the rest, particularly the forwards, a rest of them. Don't bring me off. I've got goals. I've got goals in me today. And these goals coming today." And to be fair, he did. He kept us on.
And then the second leg, you said you scored early on as well.
Yes.
I guess, yes. I mean, that was a bit of a formality. We won the away game 3-0.
Yes.
So that was a comfortable game. That game really sparked off a real scoring run by you. You scored in 5 games in a row then. After that, we battered Cardiff and Peterborough and Orient. We suddenly were really free-flowing and scoring lots of goals, and you were central to it. Yeah,
that was something that every forward would tell you that once one or two start to go in, the rest start to follow. It was a particularly good period, and again justifies, in fact, and I mentioned right at the start to say that the squad was certainly good enough, and particularly that game. I remember that game really clearly well against the Cardiff one, where we really did take them to the sword, it was a good period, and lots of optimism, and particularly that's how we went into the second game, against Zaragoza.
Well, yeah, just to mention as well, we'll talk about Zaragoza in a second. Cardiff, just for any listeners, just to let them luxuriate in the scoreline. Wrexham 5, Cardiff 1. Just that's how it
really was. Right? So seriously, I really remember, because I knew how much it was meant to the North Walians. But it means to get that result, and it certainly was, and it was a real good feeling in the dressing room afterwards, and particularly that weekend. And again, it just like today, I'm in management today and things, the football manager, and it is, you get a great result on the Saturday, it sets you up for the rest of the week, and certainly that really set us up for a few weeks, and say in particularly for the European game that was coming up.
And it was a run that set us up as well, in terms of, we went into that Zurich game sort of low part of mid-table. By the end of that run, we're 5th in the table as well. The confidence was coming, the goals were coming. And then, as you say, we go to Spain. And Goodness me, that's a very different proposition to go into Malta without wanting to sound patronising to them. I mean, Real Zaragoza won the Spanish Cup. This is a proper club with a terrific old historic stadium and a big crowd. Well, I mean, beforehand, is the mentality just you approach it like any other game, or is this awareness of?
No, it was immediately. Again, the anticipation, I suppose, and the expectation had ramped up and loads of notches. Just the very fact again that when we were met at the airport for the trip with the coach, then there was outriders, which had never been part of before in my career, that we had travelled to the hotel. When we reached the hotel, we're in there, and I know a number of us thought in the lift, we got the lift up to the floor, and we're thinking, are they sure they know who we are? Do they think we're Liverpool or Man United or somebody? Because the foyer area, the reception area was just full of press people and photographers, and they were. I've never had my photograph. It must be somewhere. Some journalist photographer must have it somewhere right in their memories of it, that we were photographed getting into the lift, inside the lift, and we had our bags and the Wrexham kit, then with the jumpers on that we had, and they were just flash bulbs going off all the time. And again, we thought, did they realise we're Wrexham? It's not like Liverpool. And there was more. I remember there was more people. We had a training session, but their training ground, and again there was the outriders with us out to the training ground. And I again, a lot of the lads commented there was probably more people watching us train that day than were at the racing course ground during on a match day itself, So yeah, it absolutely really ramped up as well, the expectation and just the importance of the game. Yeah.
I mean, I was looking at the team that played that game, and there's about 5 in the starting lineup, plus Steve Buxton on the bench, who's been part of when we've beaten Porto and done well against Roma. So does that, do they deliberately talk about European experience, or is it just we just get on with it? This is another game now.
Yeah, it was just another game. To be perfectly honest, for those guys, and for the majority of us, it was certainly our first taste of something that big, and that important. And to be perfectly honest, again, all the pros will tell you, even the guys in the game today will look at that and think, and maybe have sort of. Aspire or just want to. That's where their ambition, or want to, go and play in those games like that in European football. Everybody tries and strives to play as high as they can, and certainly I knew that, as it is, that years later on, okay, when I'd retired and things, that these memories would live long in the memory, and they certainly have, and it was just a magnificent experience.
I mean, I've got to say that I was looking at the highlights last week, actually, in anticipation of talking to you, and what's striking is that this clearly wasn't a team, sort of packing the penalty area and clinging on. We posed them problems.
Oh, not at all.
Opportunities, didn't we?
Yeah, absolutely. I remember I had a couple of what you'd consider maybe half chances myself. I think Jim Steele had a couple of half chances. Early, we were some set pieces. We were really strong with Big Joe Cook as well, and Jim, we caused them a lot of problems. And as was shown at the end of the game, it was the tradition, isn't it, that the white hankies would come out, and it was all around the stadium, except for the 200 fan. Well, was it 200 fan? About 180 Wrexham fans that were there, including my brother. Oh, wow. Including my brother Stu. My brother Stu did the coach trip with the lads, and he's very, very proud of that. He, I think they had about 2 days on the coach going through Europe to the game, and then on the way back again another couple of days. But the white hankies came out, didn't they, from the Zaragoza fans, and then they were around the last 2 or 3 minutes of the game, and it was just a wonderful experience. Yeah, it really was
incredible. And then between that and the second leg, we continued to do well, and then the second leg, well, I mean, that was again a remarkable game, wasn't it? Really 0-0 at the end of 90 minutes. Again, we posed them all sorts of problems, and so it went into extra time.
Yeah, it was probably not that I knew it then at the time, but I think that would be and was, I think I would consider to be my overall best game for Wrexham itself that night. I thought I played particularly well, as did everybody, to be perfectly honest. Really did, and again, it was just knew that it was something special. We knew we had a great opportunity. And it was just one of those games that you'd certainly, and I think, I can't remember who we played either on the Saturday beforehand, but it was just, and it's dead easy to say, oh yeah, don't think about that, take one game at a time, but everybody had their eye on that Zaragoza game. And I think it was because there was loads of quips being made and things about, because it was bonfire night. I think it was November the 5th. I think it was.
That's right. Yeah.
We said, yes. Yeah, sparks are going to fly. There's going to be fireworks tonight and things, and so all those cliches were coming out because it was the particular time of the year it was as well, and yeah, it was a really magical evening, because they had some. I mean, the guy that came on the sub and scored the 2 goals. Yeah. I mean, he'd cost £1 million. Yeah, I think it was. He'd been the first million. Was it from Chile? Was he from Chile?
Yes,
I think
that's right. Yeah.
Chile. Yeah, and they bring him off the bench, and we bring I think Stevie Buxton on the bench and stuff. And what a night for him as well. That was a good, surely there. But I still get talk about it now. I still get goosebumps. I can still feel it now. It was a wonderful experience.
Sorry, it was a good, fabulous crowd, wonderful atmosphere. With the guy you're saying about the Chilean, Yanez, I'll be honest with you, I was watching out for him because I knew he cost a lot of money. He'd not settled in well, so he was on the bench. But I'd been aware of him a couple of years ago, in the good old days then, of course, when any sort of information on international players, especially South American, was sort of quite hard to get by and quite exotic. And I remember the World Cup 2 years previously that there was a feature on him in Shoot saying that he had a rare heart condition and he was taking a risk by playing. And I remember being fascinated by this. And so when he came on, I was, oh gosh, that's that bloke. Wow, that's amazing. Right. But then he scored pretty early after he come on, and I couldn't forgive him.
I know.
But having said that, then came, for me, as a fan, one of my, I'm sorry to make it personal here, but one of my personal iconic moments as a fan, standing on the cop at the back with all my mates, when the ball comes in, and you just, I mean, you get the ball in the box and you absolutely nail this. There's bodies who've seen you in the goal, and that is just imprinted in my mind, that lovely clean strike and finding the gap, and I'm standing behind it, seeing you find the gap and drill it in. Oh, that goal, I tell you what, that was a moment, that was.
Oh, it is. Yes, yeah, you do. It seriously, I'm getting goosebumps to it now. It is, again, particularly because you're a forward. You're anticipating that thing, and you were always hoping that I'd get the goal. And to be perfectly honest, we just thought it may be one of those nights because we had chance after chance, and it wasn't that we missed the goal. I mean, there was some goal line clearances. I think we'd hit the post. The keeper had made a couple of great saves from myself, and we just thought, it's not going to. Maybe it's not going to be. And particularly then when they went and scored, they went 1-0 up. And then we had that opportunity, and I just anticipated it. And I have to say, I tell the lads now. I mean, I've been in semi-pro management, particularly down here in the southwest and Cornwall, the last 30 years now. And the lads that are telling them in there, and they always say, "Come in, you're going to show us that clip again of the Wrexham goal, Mass? You're going to show us that?" And it always live it. I always say to them, if the fencing hadn't have been there, then I think actually, I might as well. I could probably have been running now, still be running now. Yeah. It was just the fencing around the game, because it was just a wonderful feeling. And the adrenaline was still really buzzing. If you follow the clip on when they kick off, I try and win the ball back, and I'm just so buzzed, and the adrenaline is so. I go straight through the guy. And nail him, and I get a yellow card for that straight away as well. But it was a magical feeling, and the noise was just wow, unbelievable. I think they only had 3 sides as well at the ground there, but yeah, it was a wonderful that night. Yeah.
And to get it in front of the cop as well, a packed cop, it's quite something, isn't it? You know, but
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I had a couple of occasions throughout my career when I've had the opportunity to score in front of the home fans and things, and it was the goal was of importance as such. And it was a fantastic feeling. I say, will always live in the memory for me. Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to go back to the conclusion of that game, but actually, what you just said makes me think. You know, it's a big sort of accepted truth in football that if you can, home teams will kick towards their fans in the second half. Does it lift a player? I'm thinking both as a player and a manager. Do you think it does give you that extra 1%, 2%, or
yes? Even now, without that, even now we have I'm here at Helston. I've been with say down here in the southwest with Truro City, and where I am now at Helston. We have a favourite end that we will kick to, and it's just it's a psychological thing. In fact, actually, when we go away from home, that I'll always try and make out which end the home team prefer, and if we have there's a chance or an opportunity of turning that around, then I'll actually do that. I suggest that to the lads that will kick against their favoured end, if you like, because it does just throw you a little bit, you know. But certainly it's very much a psychological thing, a superstition, to be perfectly honest. You'll attack the favoured end, but it certainly was, The roar I just remember, and I say, and honestly, I think it hadn't been the fencing, because they were and all the fencing around the ground then at that stage, didn't they, with English with the football league and things. That I would have just kept going. I said, I'm probably still on the run now. So,
I must admit as well, I always enjoyed it when you scored, you're celebrating, because it felt, you see how many contrived celebrations are. That was fair enough, but you just ran generally, and it was just great.
That's right. Yeah, I remember it was just like there was a and again the lads, the young boys take the mickey sometimes here, you know, with the listen. Was that again? Give us that Massey celebration. That Massey celebration. Yeah. We'll look back in the kit.
Sorry.
Yeah, you look back on the kit and things, and then the thing is just how short those shorts were. Unbelievable. I think we used to go into the dressing room, and maybe not that you'd get in early enough in there, but you'd go along the pegs to think and hold the short and think, no, they're too long, and maybe find the short. It was there to find the shortest shorts, whereas it's completely gone the other way now. Well,
I've dragged out the discussion of extra time almost as long as extra time was. I'm sorry about that, but basically, Yanyev then scores again, and then Steve Buxton scores. It's a really frantic sort of conclusion to the game, and there's basically, after he scores, 13 minutes for us to try and get the winner, but we can't quite manage it. We go out on away goals. It was a cruel conclusion.
Yeah. It was silly. When I watched the clip back, and not so long ago, just a few weeks ago, particularly because of the lockdown situation, you know, and I get past things through, and he said, "Oh, I've just found this one. Mass, have you seen this?" I said, "Yeah, I've seen this one a few times." Well, and I didn't realise just how how sort of involved I was in the second goal. I have a couple of build-ups with it. I have a little back heel that sets up the shot, and then I actually clip the ball back in from the post, but it comes back off the keeper. I think it was Jim Steely had forced the keeper into a great save, I think, and the ball ran the corner, and I just clipped it back in again for Steve to come in and sort of volley it into the ground and in over the top. And it was, and you can just see the celebrations with it from it, that just how much it meant to everybody. And we honestly thought, yeah, it's going to be it. We're going to do it. But it just, unfortunately, it wasn't to be that night, man.
You mentioned Jim Steele. I've got to ask you what it was like playing alongside him. I mean, he was always a big favourite of mine, I've got to be honest. All elbows, and I think he was an important factor in both that European run and the one 2 years earlier, because a lot of European centre-backs maybe were used to a bit more time, weren't used to a huge target man knocking him around, and it was something I noticed a lot in that, just a short highlight I saw of the away trip to Zaragoza, is he just wins everything. And it gets to the point where they're stepping off and defending the second ball because there is just no point in them trying to challenge him. But he was a hell of a weapon in those sort of games, in any game, really.
That's it. And I was tended to favour playing alongside. I mean, that was, again, the games evolved and changed, even down to even all the dietary and the nutrition now that they're doing, the training methods, and it's all for the better. I mean, during those days, our pre-match meal used to be a steak. Used to be a steak 3 hours before the game. Would you believe that? No wonder I couldn't run. You got that steak. But that was I started in the mid 70s, and some of the senior players, I was there as a 17, 18-year-old in the days at Stockport, and the pre-match meal would be dished out by the waitress or whatever were coming around, and the senior players would take up, oh, that's too big for you. I'm having that one. And it was that was so. The games really evolved and moved on and things. And I used to play with it used to be then a lot of all the striking partnerships, and maybe had a big guy and then a little quick guy that fed off them and things. And I had the opportunity to play with some great ones. Even about the Welsh guy, Wyn Davies, came to play at Stockport County. Yeah. And I had a season with him playing at Stockport as a 17, 18-year-old there early on. And I played with big Billy Whitehurst, who probably was as he was the iconic big guy, you would say. And I had a couple of seasons with Billy at Hull City. I played alongside him. But Jim was as talented, as good as anything. I don't think he got enough praise for his ability to particularly to feed people in, and his touch was really good. He wasn't just a battering ram as such. Those big guys used to be then. But he had a football brain as well. And I enjoyed my time with Jim very much so. Yeah.
And then out of Europe, but obviously you had a taste for cup games, because you scored against Wigan and things like you put a couple past Rochdale in the FA Cup. You put you consistently scoring in sort of big matches, and indeed in big wins as well. We beat Tranmere 6-1 in the LDV, and you scored a couple in that one. It was really hitting prolific form there, and in big matches, and we were getting big wins. It was good to watch.
Oh yeah. It was a certain that season, as I said, we should have got. There was no qualms about it. We should have got promotion.
Yeah.
We should have got promotion. And it's, I don't know really what it was. We just seemed to, again, earlier on, maybe just the inconsistencies. Maybe that's why we were playing at that level, because of our inconsistencies with our game and things. On our day, we could have been as good as anybody, but we should have really got promotion. We had a real decent side, and particularly one that was playing with confidence. And I remember, which wasn't always the case at the clubs I had, and I had 7 of them throughout my 15, 16 years. I enjoyed going into training. I really enjoyed going into training, although we did remember we did train at an absolute mud bath of a place. It wasn't that far. I'm trying to think where it was now. It began with G. It was G. It was like a school pitch, I think it was. I think it was a school pitch, and we went, and it was absolutely. It might be. We used to drive there, and then the guys we used to argue about who would take the car, because you knew that coming back to the ground to get showered, your car would be covered in mud and boots. So it was, well, you took your car the other day, and you take your car. It used to be a pleasure going in, and the guys were. It was a real pleasure to be involved in that squad. It was a good set of guys. I know sometimes everybody will say, "Oh yeah, we have got a great set of lads and in here," but that certainly was that era. Yeah.
And what was Dixie like as a manager then, going through the season?
Yeah, he was. I said right from the start, I hit it off. I think that's because I've always said that. Forwards have a maybe sort of just a connection straight away. We're all a little bit selfish, to be perfectly honest, with it. But I do realise that without the rest of the side, then we're not going to be able to get the chances that are going to be needed. So and he was of that, certainly of that ilk, that mould. But he. I think about, like a lot of managers, when things were going really well, it was just about ticking over. And I've tried to learn through my experience as well, trying to bring that into our game. Is it really when you look at you see the qualities of a manager coming out, is when things maybe are not going quite so well. That's when you see the skills of the man management to boost confidence, because confidence is everything, absolutely everything in football. And the manager should be he's the motivator, he's the inspirer. And Dixie was good at that. At Sunday, if I remember, have you got the how far? I don't know if you've got that season's fixtures in there. We were away at Halifax. I don't know how long in that there was to go in that season. We were away at Halifax, and I was on the bench that day, and I don't know how it is. Is it in? Is it down there? Yeah, it was towards the end of the season. We were away at Halifax, we were. I don't know. We were 4th, 5th in the table at that time, I can't remember whether we lost the game or drew the game, but we took the lead with about 2 or 3 minutes to go. Yeah, we took the lead, and then it was like everybody was feeling. It was elated. It was feeling good, and then I always remember they kicked off and they went up and scored straight away. Yeah. They scored straight away. So we've come into the dressing room, and Dixie's just going potty. He could lose it at times, and he is going potty. And I just remember it, and I tell this tale when I've done some after dinner speaking and things down here in Cornwall. I always tell the tale. That is one of the funniest things in the dressing room I'd seen. So we're in the dressing room there, and Dixie's just losing it, and he's shouting, he's saying, "You don't deserve this here. We want to get promotion. We ain't going to do that." I said, "All you're doing, we're taking the lead. You're throwing it away. The concentration levels on it." And then he says, "Look at me. Look, you're all looking. Oh, you're not even bothered. You're not even bothered. Lee. Look at me. Just look." Because we would just sort of taking our boots off and throwing the socks down, taking the shin pads out and things, it was only Dixie just losing it. And there was a physio table in the middle of the dressing room. And these are all been piled on, sat on there was these paper cups of tea. And Dixie's then with that, and he said, "It doesn't even care, do you? Don't even care." And with that, he's just gone, swiped it, the whole lot, and the tea's just gone right up in the air, and just showered him. It showered him. Now he's in there he's got this suit on, and he's dripping tea from here. Now you try and not laugh. And he's still going. To be fair, he's still going. We won't get promotion like this. We've thrown games away like this. Look at me. Look at it. Don't you dare. Don't you dare. Take this off this. The concentration levels that you had. We've got to be improved. This is just not good enough. And it was all you could do, just to bite your lip, not to laugh at them. But Dixie was he was a guy that I had a lot of affection for, and a very, very good manager, and of course his goal scoring record, it was second to none, wasn't it? You know, and quite rightly, he's a legend up there. But Dixie was I say he was your best friend, and he used to put your arm around you and things, but he knew when to have a go at you. Wrexham was always as well the first time that I came across, sort of in my career. It wasn't again, the game was changing and evolving, and we brought in. He had the games videoed, and towards the end of that season, and he'd come back and he said, I remember him coming in the dressing room, and which I argue now, and I have all my games videoed. Purely because of the fact, and again I quote the fact about Wrexham and Dixie, that and I remember him saying to me, and he said, you didn't get across. You were hiding behind the centre half. You didn't get across into that near post early enough. And I said, yes, I did. He hung on to the ball too long. He said, no, you didn't make your run early, didn't you? I said, no, I didn't, Dixie. Oh, no, the ball didn't come in early enough. So he said, we'll have a look at the video on Monday. And Dixie was the first one that I knew that introduced to the guys, and would sit there in the video, and would play the clip. And when he said, they are, told you so. You didn't get it. You go, yeah, okay, fair play, gaffer. Yeah, all right. Yes. And he was sort of what's the word? Adventurous, or he had an eye then that, you know, for trying to improve your game and things, and the technology that was coming into the game and things in there. He was one of the highlights of my career.
Oh, it's good to hear. I looked at that Halifax game. I found it in the end, last day of January. Yes. Steve Buxton scored 87th minute, and we lost 2-1. So I can see why he was really
I think that was it. Then I couldn't remember whether when we scored, which was really late on, that we'd either taken the lead, or as it clearly was, that we actually thought we'd get a point, and then they went away and scored against us. They
scored 85th minute, we scored 87th, and then, like you say, then went straight off and scored the winner.
Yes. Yeah.
There was some frustrating. Like you said, it was a strange season because we looked so good, but it did sort of peter out. When I'm looking at the scores here, just so many draws and not many clean sheets looks like it could be the explanation in a way. Those injuries, of course. Yeah. And in the Cups, ultimately, they were frustrating. I mean, we lost twice at home to Chester in the LDV and the FA Cup. Yes. And we also missed out on Europe because we lost narrowly on aggregate to Newport County in the semi-finals of the Welsh Cup as well. So quite frustrating the way the season concluded, and we finished 9th overall.
It was, and we didn't. We never fulfilled the potential. Really, we never fulfilled the potential because there was huge potential there. I remember though the Chester game in the FA Cup. That was a real disappointment. I think was that the third round.
Yes.
Did we get to the third round? Yeah, because I remember the old-fashioned days. I remember I had Gail and I, and Ben was my eldest boy. He was how old would Ben be then? I mean, a couple of years old. He came to the Zaragoza game.
Yeah. Oh wow.
He came with Gail. I remember that. Thinking, I've lost my thread now. Where was I going to go?
You know the Chester game.
The Chester game. I remember, we lived in Caergurley.
Yeah.
We lived in Caergurley. I remember standing in the kitchen. I think it used to be 1 o'clock. I think it was about 1 o'clock when the draw was made, and we were thinking, where are we going? God, yeah, Chester. Wow. All right. And I think it was a big crowd again. And then that was a huge disappointment. It really was. Yeah. To lose them, particularly because, you know, it was Chester. So yeah, it just seems to be we didn't fulfil the potential that was certainly evident for 2/3 of the season, and then say in the end, that's it was always a huge disappointment. It should have been another promotion that I could have said, I've been involved with during my career.
I think it's fair to say injuries were a big factor. Just looking at the appearance, I remember Chris Pearce had a back injury, so he only managed 25 games. And then Mike Conroy, who looks a very good player to me, only played half the season. We ended up with 6 keepers in total before Mike Sass came in eventually, but we had a range of local keepers. Di Davis in the Welsh Cup. Yeah, we had very bad luck with injuries, and I think that really.
And I knew that we didn't have a settled side at all, and in fact that sort of continued with myself into the following season, the second season, where I don't think I played. I played till I turned over my ankle. I twisted on my ankle in a pre-season. I think it was either at Kidderminster in the August in the pre-season friendly, and I didn't play until I think it was maybe even February. It might even been February of that season, which was just a real disappointment. There's nothing worse. Every player will tell you, there's nothing more frustrating, worse than you can't play. You can't. I wasn't training. I was just coming into the treatment room every day and working with George, I'd say I didn't play until I think it was February. I think it was Orient, and actually I scored. Yeah, I think I might have scored on my first game that season, and but that was February time.
Yeah, that's right. I just got up here actually.
Yes,
you're testing my resources. It's good. I'm enjoying this. Making me work for money. Get paid.
I'm making you work, Mark. I'm making you work. Yeah,
quite right. You should do. Yeah. Somebody should.
And I think it came. It came off my thigh in the box, and it was a ricochet. It came at a difficult eye, and I remember just sort of thighing it, the thigh into the goal. I don't know, did we win 2-1 that day? Was it 2-0 or 1? No,
lost 2-1.
We lost 2-1, did we? Lost 2-1.
Yeah. The last 2 games of February, you came on as a sub at Halifax and at Orient.
Yes.
And then you didn't play the next game, started the next game. So the first game you started that season was March.
It was March, yes. Yeah.
And you weren't able to complete the game. So you were subbed off and then missed a few more. And although you played a few games, but I'm just looking at it and you got subbed. Obviously, you were struggling for fitness.
My ankle wasn't right at all, and to be fair, it still gives me trouble now. If I'm honest, so it was a real sort of anticlimax, to be perfectly honest. That second season, I certainly didn't fulfill my potential that I'd done that, but I've been lucky throughout my career. The teams and the clubs I've been at and the appearances I made, I didn't really have a bad injury until right at that end of that season, which was my last season in league football.
It must have been, a bit stupid of me to say, it must have been frustrating, but certainly to see that Kevin Russell had come in that year and was prolific.
Yes.
Having yourself as well there might have been what pushed us, again into playoff contention.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Kevin. I remember Kevin. I think he was the oldest looking. I won't mind me saying this. He must have been the oldest looking 21-year-old, 20-year-old I've ever seen. Yes. He used to say, "Blimey, he must have had a big paper round in his in his school days." I think he was losing his hair then at 21, and he didn't. He just you looked. Everybody used to say, You how old? You're only 20. Yes, yeah. But prolific striker. It really happened for him. That's good goals, yeah.
And the next season, he did get us into the playoffs. But then by then we brought in Ollie Cairns, I think, essentially because partly that big little man combination, but also because without yourself, we needed another experienced striker up there, didn't we? I think.
Yes, yeah. I think that again, it's always been said. I think that's why forwards will always cost you more, even today's game, and it's all relative, even down into the steps 2s and 3s that have managed that in the semi-pro game in here. It's all relevant. You have to pay the more money for the guys that will actually scoring the goals, because they win you games. They win you games. I mean, defenders and goalkeepers, they will save you points, and things, and keep you in games. But certainly, forwards will win you games. If you've got some of the guys that are scoring goals, and it's no coincidence, that you got even right through the game, no matter what level or relative, it's all relative. That you've got guys that are scoring goals, so they're probably playing for the teams at the top of the league.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So sadly, you've finished professionally then. You've gone on, like you said, management, mostly in the southwest.
Yes.
I mean, clubs like Truro, who are obviously really very ambitious clubs looking to strike forwards.
Yes,
it must be. I'm lucky because Wrexham are still playing. I'm doubly lucky because, as I commentate, I'm actually able to go to the home games. And I'm very conscious of how lucky I am. I mean, I find it slightly difficult to conjure with what it must feel like for you. I mean, you must be desperate to you're getting out there and doing what you love doing, and it just, there's no date where you'd be able to.
There isn't. No, it's very, 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 very frustrating, and something that I've had. Ever since I can remember, from playing at primary school, I've always been able to put my boots on, a tracksuit on, no matter what type of particular sort of era or modern version of football boots we had at the time, or training kit we had in there. I've always had the opportunity to do that, which I feel very, very privileged in. And particularly these last 12 months. Has been very, very frustrating. So much so that particularly with our Helston side, we were points clear of the top of the league. We'd just smashed a league record, the Southwest Peninsula League record. It was 17 games, not just unbeaten, but 17 consecutive wins, and we'd actually passed that, and we were on to 26 consecutive wins. just win. The team were in great form. We were going to take up the next level with promotion, and of course the COVID thing came, and it's just been stop-start. We haven't played. We've had one which was in the FA Vars game. We played Fareham. That was in December, but we haven't played as a club or as a team since early November. Well, when the second lockdown came in at beginning of November, and it's really frustrating. Really, very, very frustrating at the moment. Yes, yeah.
I hope you're able to get playing soon. Although obviously the level below Wrexham have just voted to stop playing, and
yes, which is the level. Truro are in the Southern Premier League now at the moment in there, it is very, 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 very frustrating. You console yourself to the fact that it's everybody's going through it. Everybody's going through the thing. So it's just when it is safe to do so, then yes, we'll. And everybody's looking forward to that. Then we can get actually back to playing competitive football. But it would be nice. It would be nice because I see this, and probably you feel the same as well. Particularly when you go into the games and you're commentating, there is no. If anything said that what really makes our this great game, is the fans.
Yeah.
And without them, it's not. Even at our level, we've had the thing that we've said, you can only have 15 or 20% of your capacity in, and then the clubhouses have been closed, and it's just as I'm saying. And I will say, and I've been advocating particularly down here, is that when the football does come back, for me it can't come back unless fans, less the supporters, can come back into grounds, because they make it. I remember them those nights. It just. Players feed off the fans, and it's not even the same watching the Premier League stuff on the telly, on your Sky and your BT. It's just, in fact, actually there was 4 games on yesterday, and I think I watched about 10-15 minutes of one. I had the games on and there, but I was just flitting and doing anything else. It's not the same without the supporters in there. So the fans have got to be allowed back in, and that's when. And I've said to our leagues and our club. That if we're not allowed to if we're going to have to play behind closed doors, I'd rather not play, because the fans make the game itself. It really does. And, those nights like we're talking about there, the Zaragoza nights, you think if that would have been behind the closed doors, they wouldn't have been that. They would not have been that, because as again, players will tell you, we'd come in some days. I don't think we'd ever did it at Wrexham. Certainly did with the other clubs. I remember coming in at Peterborough when I was played at Peterborough one day and said, right, we're going up to, I think it was Ipswich. We're all on the coach. We're behind closed doors. We've got a game at Ipswich. And we thought, and I used to hate those behind closed doors purely because there was no atmosphere. There was no atmosphere, and particularly as a forward, you thrive off the crowd that would encourage you, bring you, and give you that buzz and that adrenaline. So that's the frustrating part. That and no doubt at all that the supporters have missed us as well coming into grounds very much.
Absolutely. I mean, from our perspective, speaking to our midfielder Jay Harris, who is a proper 110% battling midfielder. He's had 2 suspensions this season already. He'll never shirk out of a tackle. Club legend. And even talking to him,
I was like Barry Horn. I thought you were talking about Barry Horn. Yeah.
But I tell you what, Jay, I think a tackle between those two would be interesting. And I think Jay.
What's the name?
My money's on Jay.
Player he
was. I'll be honest with you. But he even he said to me, "I feel 5% down on my game because I draw that power from wanting to do it for our fans, or even from hearing the barracking of other fans." And not necessarily at him, but at the Wrexham fans, and wanting to sort of represent the fans on the pitch. And for him to say that is striking, because that guy is, as very high professional standards, as motivated as they come. To watch him, you wouldn't think it, but he feels he's under par because of it.
No, I would think majority of players, you'd have to be somebody really, really special if you just managed to lock that out and you just played on your game and you built yourself on the adrenaline and the confidence you felt. You thrive. You just thrive off the crowd and their feelings. And as you say, even if it's you're getting a bit of barracking and you're useless, you just stick the chest out again, and then you go again, but no, we've missed the fans. Yeah.
Well, let's hope we can get the fans in soon. Let's hope you can get back soon to doing what you love. Steve, I can't tell you what a pleasure it's been talking to you.
Mark, it has been. Yes. Really. No, I thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. As you probably can tell, I've got a bit of a reputation. I go on the radio down here and the podcasts and things that we have, and even the journalists that were speaking, they said, "Can we just maybe keep it short? Because I like to talk and I get enthused, but it's just something that people like Dixie. Dixie, they've sort of. I look at Dixie and I think, my enthusiasm is probably built on or earned from that, from his qualities and what he gave into the game and the lads and things, And so, I think if you lose that enthusiasm and that desire and that passion, and with the football, then they just go on down and get the hot chocolate out and the slippers then and think, but until that day, I'm far from that day yet.
This is Jay Harris, and you're listening to Dragonheart Radio.
Thanks very much for watching. Please subscribe as well so you don't miss out on any of our content, and click the bell to get notifications.